I was good. I'm good. I'm out of the military. I did my service. I'm happy. I'm married. I got a house, got 2 cars. Things are great. I was a mess.
Yeah.
But I just hit it. You know, put everything in your pocket. Everything's great. Smile for everybody. You know, you're a veteran and you're supposed to do this. I wasn't trained how to deal with physical and mental wounds, illnesses, whatever you may call it. And so I turned to drugs and alcohol. And that was my thing. And bars, fighting. And that was my deal. You know, I'm the tough guy. I gotta have something. Mm-hmm. So I became an addict.
Yeah.
And I never understood that I became an addict. But now looking back, it's like, oh, I was phenomenal at it.
Welcome to Fitter Every Day, the show where we break fitness into bite-sized bits to help make you fitter every day. As we approach Murph, we're going to do a little bit different of an episode. We're having Troy Peterson, who's the CEO of ValorFit on, and ValorFit's a nonprofit that helps veterans. He is a Purple Heart Army veteran, and one of the things about this episode is when you're talking with veterans about recovery, you're going to get into some heavy topics. You also might get into some salty language. So if you are with your kids, if you're listening to this on a podcast or on a YouTube video and your kids are around, there will be a little bit of some profanity. That's nothing too bad, but some language that your kids might not love. But we also will be getting into some topics that are a bit heavy. And so as a preparation for that, if you do have kids around that do pay attention to this, just know that that might be something you're going to get into. So without further ado, welcome to Troy Peterson from ValorFit.
So welcome, Troy.
Thanks.
We're happy that we finally got you in here.
I know.
Mr. World Traveler.
Yeah. I have a lot of airline miles. a lot of nice airline perks.
But I think, so we'll start back because this makes sense that you and I are here because we've known each other for a very, very long time. So we met at CrossFit Waukee, and my path there has been sort of documented on this before, but I was in graduate school, needed a job while I was in graduate school. I did an internship with Acceleration Iowa. They had a location in Waukee. Reggie said, hey, I need a CrossFit coach. And I was like, all right, I've been doing CrossFit for 5 months. Let's go start. And so then I was at CrossFit Waukee, and then you walked in. Yeah. So how did you get to CrossFit Waukee, where we ended up actually meeting the first time?
So my wife, Tiffany, was a member at Waukee, and she was always like, hey, you need to do this. I think this would help you. Rich, that was there, is a Purple Heart recipient.
Rich Rowe, which is an absolute, one of my favorite human beings.
And she was like, oh, he was in the Navy. And I put 2 and 2 together. I was like, oh, yeah, not my type. Like, I'm good. He's in a successful position, and he's happy doing what he's supposed to be doing, and I'm sitting in my recliner downstairs high as a kite. Like, no, I'm good, you know? So eventually, I did go in there, and my first, drop-in was Murph.
Hell of a way to start, by the way.
Yeah, great idea. That's when I met, Brent and Carrie Minter, Adam and Sabrina Wright, a lot of the people I'm still close with to this day there. I put a vest on, because that's what you do, and it took me about an hour and a half. And I didn't come back. And I was like,
for a while.
Yeah, I was out. And then we were actually at a CrossFit Waukee volleyball event. And that was the day, I decided, Tiffany's at esthetician school up in Ames. She's 3 months pregnant. I have Tucker with me. All these people are happy, and I'm absolutely miserable. I'm on all sorts of pills. I'm drunk. I'm in the sun. I've been, an addict for almost 10 years. And I was like, no, this is it. This is it for me. And so I went home and I tried to overdose and then woke up. And Tiffany thankfully said, hey, it's now or never. Here's your opportunity. And at that time, I'm like, I don't know what I want. I've tried all these different things. My ways don't work. Let's give it a shot. So I went in that Monday and told Reggie, hey, I need some help. I'd like to start CrossFit. And we'd talked before. And I'd reach out to him and then ghost him, and reach out to him and ghost him.
Which you're not alone.
No.
That happens a lot.
I've been doing ValorFit for 5.5 years, and it happens often in not just one facility. It's, hey, I want to do this. I want to feel better. I'm gone. And I said, no, I'm going to stick with this. One day at a time was literally what I've told him. I looked at, inpatient rehab, outpatient rehab, AA, NA, AAA, whatever you say, all the different organizations. And I was like, I'm smarter than them. I'm not an addict. I can kick this if I wanted to. I couldn't. So I was like, let's give this CrossFit a chance. And Reggie was watching the CrossFit games, and Daniel Tominski popped up. And Reggie was like, hey, this is, he's an Army veteran. you should read about his story. And I was like, oh, cool. He's probably didn't go to combat or probably isn't cool. I still had that in my head. And come to find out, Dan is a combat veteran. And so like the CrossFit Games had documentaries and talked about it. And he talked about his sobriety and getting clean. I'm like, okay, I'm going to stay clean one more day. And it just kept going. And I made CrossFit a part of my daily life. I did one-on-one personal training sessions. I remember it was like grace. It was, 135-pound clean and jerks. And I was like, hey, Jeff, should I do this? And you were like, should you? No. Can you? Yes. So you get to make the decision. And I think it took me about, an hour and a half to do 30 clean. And I had no idea, but it was like lesson learned, So I started taking those lessons with me. And that was where, like, I first met you was in the summer of 2015. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. You're all right.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. So you mentioned the Daniel Suminski and connecting with being a veteran and having sobriety. So I think you're wearing ValorFit gear, head to toe, which is kind of par for the course.
Yeah.
Which ValorFit's is an organization that helps veterans, and we're going to get into that. But you being in the military, because this is going to go out probably the week before MRF, maybe a couple weeks before MRF. What about your military service? What led you to going into the Army in the first place? And then coming out of it, I think a lot of times, I'll use this from an athlete's perspective, which is like, it's like a light version of the same thing, because what we're seeing when we're doing it isn't as intense. But when you're part of a team and you're part of, whether it's the Army or for athletes, it's sports, you're part of a team. The natural capacity you have to build relationships it's there. You're with the same people every day. You can't not be friends with your teammates because you're there all the time. Yep. And you have this shared purpose, and you wake up every morning and your commander or your coach is going to say, you need to be here at this time. You need to be here at this time. We're doing this thing. Here's the goal. And all of a sudden, at least for me with athletics, you get done and you're like, what do I do now? How do I make friends? What do I do with my life? My identity as an athlete and as my skills to build friendships I don't have those. I don't know what to do. And so with veterans, a lot of times that by itself is a problem. And then what you have to deal with and see while you're there and the experiences you have to process that and being like, you're done. Here's a checkup at the VA in the next 4 months.
Yep.
So what led you to being in the Army in the first place? And then I think while you were there was some stuff you had to deal with. And then coming out of that, I think that story is pretty important to understanding why ValorFit exists.
Right. So I graduated Johnston in 2001. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do.
Hey, CIML Central proud, baby.
Yeah. And so it was like, okay, well, I'm going to get a couple student loans and go to DMAC, take some classes at DMAC. Figured out I still wasn't done partying yet. So DMAC, with student loans in my name was the safest bet. And I was working at Granger Motors. And September 11th happened. I'd been talking to an Army recruiter like, hey, I'm at Merle Hay Mall. What are you doing, recruiter? Like, what can you offer me? And September 11th happened. I just gotten out of going to my first class. And for some reason, it just clicked. And it was like, that's for me. Immediately, they start talking about who did this and what they're going to do. And I'm like, that's for me. Like a sense of pride. I always wanted to belong to something, whether it was a team in sports or be a member of my family. That was I wanted to belong. I wanted to be a part of something. Because you see like happy families and happy people. And like when you're on a baseball team or a football team, you're happy. Mm-hmm. Things are good. So I went the next day, signed an active duty contract, got in on the delayed entry program, went to basic training at Fort Sill, finished that. Then I got stationed with the 1st Cavalry Division in Fort Hood. And it was like, okay, you guys are getting ready to go. So we started training up for Iraq. And at the time, on Fort Hood was the 1st Cavalry Division and the 4th Infantry Division. They pulled our orders, put them in the front. So they were in the initial invasion. And then after 1 year, we went March 13, 2004. And it was like, hey, it's a peacekeeping mission.
Mm-hmm. And you went to Iraq, Afghanistan?
I went to Iraq. Okay. Yep. And it was like, I don't watch the news. I'm 20 years old, 21. You only hear, there isn't social media now. Back then, there wasn't like there is now. So it was like, okay, it's a peacekeeping mission. I believe you. Like, this is what we're, like, okay. Like, I'm being told what to do, when to do, how to do it every single day. And it's like, okay, I believe you. This is the training. We take it serious. We're going to learn the Arabic language and how to do some sign language and all these different things. and we get over there and it's not.
Yeah.
It's different, and it turns into hell on earth immediately. So it's fight or flight. And thankfully, I had the opportunity to make that choice because a lot of people didn't.
Yeah.
And that's something I'll always be grateful for, and like the guilt that comes with like I made it, they didn't. But also it gives me the attitude of I'm super grateful to be here and thankful that they gave their lives for this. So yeah, I was a part of a team. We were hunters. That's what we did. Our goal was to find the bad guy, essentially, while making other people happy. We were taking psyops out, and they were delivering food, and then all hell would break loose. And so we did that. And I was wounded, and when I returned, I got on hydrocodone, started dabbling a little Oxycontin, and I got out, and like I was good. I'm good. I'm out of the military. I did my service. I'm happy. I'm married. I got a house, got 2 cars. Things are great. I was a mess.
Yeah.
But I just hit it. You put everything in your pocket. Everything's great. Smile for everybody. You're a veteran and you're supposed to do this. I wasn't trained how to deal with physical and mental wounds, illnesses, whatever you may call it. And so I turned to drugs and alcohol. And that was my thing, and bars and fighting. And that was my deal. I'm the tough guy. I gotta have something. So I became an addict.
Yeah.
And I never understood that I became an addict. But now looking back, it's like, oh, I was phenomenal addict.
I think a lot of times when people see, and really like relationships that had with, whether it's with you or with guys like Jesse or Jesse Sage, who's a ValorFit veteran who went on to, he's in a
bad
great
man.
class.
That's a bad man.
But so you have guys like that, and you talk about things like addiction. And prior to that, I grew up in, you were talking about like happy household. 2 parents, brother, and a dog.
Right.
Like great. I had like a somewhat suburban rural like growth, happy, whatever. And when you're in that position, looking out, and you see someone that is, and you hear the term addict, you're thinking like, the Dave Chappelle character, like Tyrone Bingham. You think that, and you're like, that guy just chose to be a piece of shit. And another, like recognizing that that's a human that's there. And one of the things it always brings me back whenever I think about something like addiction and support, and the term thoughts and prayers annoys the shit out of me.
It's the worst thing I've ever heard.
Annoys me to no end. And I don't mean that those things aren't effective. Like when you are like, you're supporting someone, that's awesome. But when you're half a bottle of oxycodone down and you're sitting in your basement with a 5th of whiskey in your hand, thoughts and prayers aren't going to do a lot.
No.
And so when you came in, I remember we had a conversation, and I don't want to say like I was providing medical advice, but like trying to just understand like, hey, where are you at, bud? Right. Like, tell me what's going on, because I need to be able to like have a conversation with you, because thoughts and prayers don't do anything.
No
like,
one ever asked me up until that point.
So really, you came in and like you were hitting it, but you were also like, what I noticed is that you were always friendly with everybody. You're Troy. You're never going to not be friendly with everybody. Right. But at the same time, you'd get into the middle of a workout and you could see that there was a fight you were having in your head where somewhere between I can do this and shut down. Like that fight was happening every time during a workout. And so after one of the workouts, I remember we were having a conversation over by the water fountain kind of by the front. And I was like, hey, what's going on here? Like, is there medications that you're taking that like are preventing you from going harder? Because I can tell you want to. And so we were kind of having that conversation. And that to me, looking at Midwestern white kid who sees an addict and then having that conversation, that changed it for me that this isn't Tyrone Bingham's on the street. This is Troy.
Right. Yeah. And I think that was the perception I had. Even that's why I wasn't admitting. I wasn't seeking consistent help. It was like, I'm not like them. I'm not a meth head, or my family, the Peterson family, we don't use needles. We're not dirty people that use needles and are disgusting. And it was like, no, I was popping pills and drinking expensive alcohol and blowing $200-$400 a night of alcohol, adding in a little cocaine here and there and some oxy, and you start doing the math. It's like, yeah, I'm living, I'm just having fun.
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying life.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it's like,
the story you tell yourself.
And then when I go home at night and it starts to wear on you like physically and you're coming down, I'm like, oh man, I'm an addict. Like, and you cry yourself to sleep. Who are you going to go ask for help? My wonderful wife, my dad that worked for Mid-American for 40 plus years and did the best that he could all the time. Like none of my friends knew, like, what are they going to do was my thought. What are they going to do to help me? I can help myself. And it was like, I couldn't get myself on a thought process to what that even looked like. There was no like, I think if I do this, I can do this. It would be like, well, I think if I do this, I have to stop taking drugs and I have to stop drinking. And then I have to tell the truth that I'm not happy. I don't want anybody to know I'm not happy. Like I'm good. Like things are good.
You're Mr. Jolly
Yeah.
guy.
And so that conversation, I remember it because Carrie Minter asked me about a week later, like on like the cool down walk, like, tell me what's wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, buckle up because here it comes, and a lot of people, like I'm still open about that because that is a part of who I was and a part of the growth that I've had. But yeah, the addiction, like I look at some folks and I'm like, oh yeah, I see it. Like I can see it from a mile away. Yeah. Whether you don't admit it or not, or whether you're asking for help, whether you're a vet or not, I can see like there's pain. And so like with veterans, it's that camaraderie of, oh, I served, you served. Yeah, you're hurt. Like there's no doubt you're hurting. Like what's next?
So before we get to ValorFit, because I think that there's a natural, the ValorFit conversation comes, there's like one more step of Troy that we have to get to before we get to ValorFit. So you started at CrossFit Waukee and you're dealing with his addiction and going, I got a problem. I need to fix this. Yeah. What kept you on the road to recovery? Because the way I perceive from the outside, and I mean, changing habits is one thing. Changing habits with chemical problems is another one. Where like the story of Sisyphus, which is he's rolling it's an old Greek thing where you're always rolling the stone up the hill, and if you ever stop, it rolls back down and takes you. And it feels like addiction is the toil of Sisyphus, where you're pushing the rock up the hill. And you can never stop, and you also never make really fast progress. Right. It's just continuing that. So you being Sisyphus started to push it up the hill because you recognized that you needed to, and you came into CrossFit Waukee and you started having those conversations with Rich and with Carrie, and I was part of that. What kept you going in that? Whether it's relationships or whether it's outside parties like therapy or whatever, what kept you going up that hill?
It's actually a combination. So I started dabble in a bunch of different things. It was like I did a men's group with Adam Wright and Brent Mentor. And it was like, I really gelled with Adam and Brent specifically. And Adam would call outside of the gym. Hey, what's up? You want to come over for a pizza?
Which Adam Wright, he's handsome. He's nice. He's rich. He played in the NFL.
He's like,
if you could drop like a
Hershey's chocolate bar that never ends. It's just perfect.
It's rude, is what it is. It's rude.
Yeah. What's it like being so handsome?
And I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. But it was like those relationships, like letting men in, letting other grown men in that weren't in the military. It was like, okay, this is like, I never even let my dad in. Mm-hmm. That was like, you stay at a distance. I'm good. I'm, 14. I can fucking handle this. I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, and so kind of was like, okay, I trust these people. It was a trust thing. Like, I trust this. And then I met like, John and Kelly Alexander. And like, okay, they're happy. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to be like them and close to them. And I want to work on things at my house to be like them. And then they just kept coming back and I was going back. And that consistency, like I was never consistent as an addict. The only thing I was consistent, I was getting high. Mm-hmm. And it was like, okay, this feels good. This is better. And that was the year I said, every Saturday that the Iowa Hawkeyes win, I'm going to stay clean and sober. And they went 10-0.
Hey.
But then they lost the Big Ten championship. And I was like, oh, man, what are we going to do? So anyways, I stayed with it. It was like my confidence was, I was feeling good.
Yeah.
Like,
because you came in at 3 bills.
Oh, yeah. I was like 333, I think is what the scale tipped over at. And I was uncomfortable. I was miserable. I didn't feel good, but I started to feel better. Mm-hmm. I started to be able to like run decently. And I was doing decent on the rower and the bike. And it was like, okay, I can work out in the heat. And like, I couldn't mow my lawn before and not be miserable. I'd be mowing like 8 o'clock at night on a rider in the suburbs of Waukee because I was so miserable. I was like, okay, I'm starting to feel better. This consistency is empowering. Mm-hmm. My confidence is getting better each day. Let's stay with it. And it was like, I'm not going to put a whole bunch of stuff on my plate. I'm just going to stay clean and sober by going to the gym. And it was like, then I created friends and relationships, and Reggie lived a block away. Mm-hmm. So I would spend a lot of personal time. It was like I started added pieces that I didn't know I needed. I was just open to like relationships and positive friendships. And those people, like I kept wanting to go, like I wanted you to be my coach. I wanted to go to noon so that you would be my coach. Like I'm comfortable. I'm happy. Okay, what's next? Now I go home and, at that time I was still coming down off drugs for a long time. It was like I'd take a nap. Like I'd have to hydrate and eat. I was miserable. And I guess that positivity, I kept chasing that.
Right.
And like now looking back, it was like I was chasing a high that wasn't leading me anywhere.
Yeah.
Now if I chase these people and their positive attitudes, like that's part of me. That's who I want to be.
Right.
It's who I am actually. So it's like I just kept coming back for that.
Yeah. And so that kind of naturally leads, this is where the birth of ValorFit kind of happens. So when
the baby was born.
Where the baby was born. Am I mom, or I feel like I'm dad in this situation because like
I don't know.
I helped gift the idea,
you can
and
be
then
the mom. I'll be the dad.
Okay.
Yeah. You call me daddy. Yeah.
So in 2017, I started at North Ankeny CrossFit. So I had left in 2016 to go work an office job, hated it, went up to North Ankeny, and at that point, you had been part of the gym in Waukee for 3 years, and like you had finally felt like your footing was solid.
Yep.
And you were then looking for ways because we got medically retired, right?
I got full VA disability instead of taking medical retirement.
Full disability.
Yep.
So you got a paycheck every month of your life for the rest of your life.
Yep.
So what do you do? And so that was kind of the thing, is like you were looking at a point of going, I've finally found a way that I can keep myself clean and sober and deal with the problems that I had. What can I do with this? And so that was sort of, I think, bopping around your brain. And at the same time, we had Murph, which again, this is going to go out right in front of Murph. And if you've listened to this and you're not part of a CrossFit community, just show up at a Murph. You don't have to do it. Just show up. And we'll get to the Murph thing in a second. So we were having our Murph at NACF, and I think it was really hot. I think it was 2017, 18? 2018. And we had our Murph, which is always done on Memorial Day, and it was like 100 degrees. And so we had a 7 o'clock heat, a 9 o'clock heat, and an 11 o'clock heat. And because it was going to be so hot, pretty much everybody came to 7 or 9. And I think the 9 o'clock heat, we had something like 53 people doing Murph at our old location, which was pretty small. And I remember you go into Murph because Murph is named after Lieutenant Michael Murphy, who is a fallen soldier. He died overseas. If you ever watched The Lone Survivor, that's the movie about Michael Murphy. That is Murph.
It's the man on the phone.
And so you do Murph on Memorial Day to memorialize and say, thank you, veterans, for doing what you're doing. And we had 53 people all together. We had a little barbecue afterwards, and everybody just left. And I was like, what did we just do? Like, we thoughts and prayers. Like, we didn't said, hey, thank you, guys. And it's sort of like walking by a homeless veteran on the street and being like, thank you, sir, thank you for your service while you're eating a hamburger. Like, you're not helping anything. Right. And so I remember it was a phone call or a text. Like, we got in touch after that being like, we got to do something. Like,
you're the idea fairy is what you did. You idea fairyed me.
And it was like, this thoughts and prayers thing of let's think about helping veterans. Like, my father-in-law has an expression of fixing to get ready to. Like, I'm about to start getting ready to go do the thing. So you're fixing to get ready. Thoughts and prayers. We're fixing to get ready to help somebody. And so we kind of hooked up and we're like, okay, rather than just thinking about veterans on Memorial Day, what can we actually do to help replicate your story somehow for other people? So that's my perception of it, is that we both sort of had the idea at the same time. I don't know if that's your recollection of it too.
So I was volunteering for a group at the VA. It was the Veterans Advocacy Group. It's short, VAG for short. And so it's like, okay, this is cool. So I'm volunteering a couple hours a week, helping create programs. It gets me out of the house, outside of the gym. I can use my brain. Wow, I'm actually a pretty creative.
Yeah, a non-foggy brain.
Yeah,
for the
like
first
this
time
is
in a decade.
working really great, and stuff just spits out. Like, I don't think about it. I don't take notes. Like, it just comes out and it's working great for them. And I remember you're like, hey, I think we can do more. ... And I'm like, yeah, I know we can. That you're absolutely right. Like, we aren't doing enough. And that was where it was like, okay, so I've done some nice things and like fist bumped some people at the VA, like, good job. You know, and I don't know what they're doing a good job at, but like, hey, good job. Great to see you. Thoughts and prayers. Like, I'm I'm going home to my nice suburban home in Waukee. I'm clean and sober. I've worked hard enough. I can hang my hat up for the day. And it was like, I think we need to start a program for folks with addiction, with substance abuse, with mental illness. And it was like, yeah, let's do that. And then the ball started rolling and like the ideas started working, it was like, this works. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is fucking beautiful. Mm-hmm. Like this is like reenacting like what happened to me and the nice people, because there's nice people at every gym. Mm-hmm. Any gym you go to, there's Ty and Timothy and Jeff and Heather might be different. You know what I mean? Like that core of people is different, but there are nice people at every single gym that are willing to help. Mm-hmm. And I say those four because specifically not only they helped me, but they helped get the they volunteered their time. They were just nice. They were who they were. So it's like, I think we could do this at other gyms and pockets throughout central Iowa. And so as, this grew and word got out and the news stories started coming, and it was like, okay, like we can do more. And that's how the program was created. And then, Nate Yoho brought ideas to the table. Hey, let's do this. Let's do this. And our brains worked. And it was like, okay, let's, fund. We got to fundraise for this. And it was like, kept me going. And in keeping me going, it kept me happy and things were positive. Then I could work with the veterans. And it was like, okay, so these veterans want to help themselves. Mm-hmm. Like they just need to be reminded that they can, or shown how to do or what to do a couple times. And people are going to reach out to them, and it's like, okay. And now 5.5 years later, it's like, oh, like we can do more outside of even the Midwest.
Yeah. And so what is ValorFit? So let's say, I hope if anything else, if this gets into the ears of one veteran and they think, well, shit, if he did it and they got steps for me to do it, then I can do it.
Well, so
what is ValorFit? And even before, how does someone get enrolled? Like, let's say that, some guy named Steve is a veteran. He served in Desert Storm, has been not doing great for the last 10 or so years. And he's thinking about getting himself back on a track that he needs to. What does ValorFit do for Steve?
So they fill out an application. It comes to me, and essentially they have a questionnaire. Anxiety, depression, sleep. How's your sleep? What are you looking for? And that question, most people aren't even asked. Like, what are you looking for in your life? And there's things, tabs you can click is like live healthier lifestyle, eat better. And then that's someone saying, I need help. Like, please help me. Mm-hmm. If you fill out an application, it's please help me.
Yeah.
And so then the conversation starts going, hey, where'd you serve? What do you, what are things like? And immediately it's, I'm overeating. I'm drinking too much. Or a lot of the folks that come to this program have gone through inpatient before they, I will speak with them while they're at inpatient and stuff, but apply for the program after you've gone through inpatient.
That's inpatient
treatment, drug and alcohol treatment.
Sure.
So for 45 days, you've showed a commitment for yourself, and I'll go meet them while they're in there and say, you show a commitment to yourself and you do this, and we will support you when you get out by putting you in a gym. You want to get healthy. People want to go to the gym, whether they're like, oh, the CrossFit's stupid. It's like, I used to say that too, like watching Special Forces guys in Iraq, nerds. And like, we didn't have ropes. That's why I said you nerd. I wish I had a rope. But it's like, so the program is based off of replacing old negative habits with new positive ones. And I literally say that every single time. And they get it. Okay. So if you're going to the bar at 5 o'clock and you're spending 6 hours there, you can go to the gym from 5 to 6 and you're going to be so tired that you're going to want to go home and drink water, eat, and go to sleep. Mm-hmm. So you've replaced, you put a new positive habit in place from an old negative habit. Good job. That's one day. And people get that feeling, that high starts to change. Mm-hmm. Your head holds a little higher and you start to open up and communicate it, and essentially it's not necessarily just a sobriety thing. Like, you don't have to be sober
to
go through it, but it's like, are you a heroin user? Then you need to go to inpatient treatment. After inpatient treatment, you come to ValorFit to continue on. Like, what's next for you? So you get them in the gym, you get them comfortable, you get them happy, their confidence. It's like, okay, now what? Like, have you filed your VA paperwork? Do you go to your doctor's appointments? This and that. And it's like, he kind of reminds people and give them a nudge and they start to do it. And then the conversation really is like, I don't have VA benefits. I don't have health insurance. I don't have this. I don't have a job. And so it's kind of a like, hey, we're going to open the door for you at the gym. And then you're going to have choices to make and opportunities to decide what's next.
Yeah. And that was one of the things, at least in the initial idea, and I believe it's still a continuing thing, is if this is it's a charity because it's a 501c3, but in the connotation form of charity, in that I'm just giving you something, that there is no responsibility of taking that thing. And it's just, we'll pay for a gym membership for forever. All right, good luck. Then at no point does that person feel the
Free
ownership.
breakfast at Hy-Vee on Veterans Day.
Right. They don't feel the ownership to actually pick up and say, all right, well, I got to do this. So one of the things that at least for me, I hope, is that you get to a point where the veteran's like, hey, I want to help and keep you guys going, but I don't need you anymore. Like, I'm on my own 2
Even
feet.
if that conversation starts with us,
Yeah.
to you, like, hey, you're doing really great financially. I'm guessing you've made some changes. Oh, yeah, I'll take mine over.
Yeah.
And they just need to be reminded because veterans are so used to getting like free breakfast at Hy-Vee and that's it. And like we have accountability. Like you're going to go 3 days a week.
Mhm.
And if you don't go 3 days a week, it's not like, hey, you need to give me an excuse why. Like if you're sick or you're whatever it may be.
Right.
But there's an accountability behind it and they check in. Like I don't have to reach out to all of them.
Yeah.
They reach out to each other even like, hey, so-and-so at CrossFit Kinesis has a buddy, CrossFit Lincoln. They work together. He hasn't showed up for work for 2 days, so I'm going to hound on him. I'm guessing he's not at the gym, and it's like, go get him.
Yeah.
It's accountability with each other. It's the brotherhood again.
Yeah.
They served in 2 different, part of the armed services. It's like, okay. But yeah, they want to earn this.
Mhm.
Like it's not, I don't want a handout.
Right.
And I always say it's a hand up, not a handout.
Right.
Initial, like, here you go. Good job. Now what?
Right.
And they take it over and it's like, okay, I want to be a part of this community. I need, the hope is that they have a need.
Yeah.
To be wanted and feel good about being wanted. And then they want to go help other people as well.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that's really unique about a CrossFit gym specifically, but this doesn't have to just be CrossFit. I just think that I'm biased, admittedly. I think
Same.
we just do it the best.
Yes.
Is there's 2 main things that that CrossFit and fitness classes fill the gap of that veterans tend to then go, oh shit, this is the thing I've been looking for. Which, one, when you're in the military, you are in good shape. Like you got to be. You are literally carrying weights all the way around. You have to be able to run, jump, handle different physical situations. Like you are in good shape. And that, I mean, speaking from an athlete perspective, because again, it's just like military light. It's the problems are similar, but just less. And when you're an athlete, I'm like, I got this. Like, what is that? Hey, Dad, you need help moving that rock? I got it. Just pick up this thing and move it around.
Right.
And then go 7 years without exercising. And that thing that you identified with yourself as, I am this in shape, I am confident because of this, it's gone. Just you do enough bad stuff to your body or enough nothing to your body.
Yes.
And that strength is gone. And so one of the things that you could hang your hat on when you were in the service is, I might not be the smartest guy. I might not be the smoothest guy. I might not be whatever, but I am tough. I am in
fit to
shape.
fight. Yeah.
I'm fit to, I am here.
Yep.
And so that part, when you put someone in a gym, different than putting someone in something like, I don't know, just like a fishing trip,
Right.
like, which is great. That's awesome. And that has a need and that there's very much a service for that. But the thing with gyms that's awesome is you gain that back over time. And that when you mentioned like I was feeling good in the bike, I was able to run, like clicking into that was like, oh, like I've got this again.
It's a different type of high.
Yeah.
It's like a different pride thing. And one thing, like if Amy were sitting right here, Amy Boyd, and I were to say, can you name me 10 people from each one of your CrossFit classes? Guarantee she has it done in under 2 minutes.
Yep.
That's why this works for our veterans is because if they go to class at noon and noon is their time, the same 10 people are going to be there. The Rickelmans, the mentors, whoever it is at your facility. And that's facilities, all of them.
Right.
Whether
Any CrossFit gym is going to have this group.
You have your class time that you go to. And so if it's 4:30, okay, you're going to go to 4:30, now you're back on the team.
Mhm.
They want you to be there. Okay, see you tomorrow.
Yeah. And
Okay.
that's that second thing.
Yeah.
There's one is the strength part and 2 is the fact of, hey, where were you on Tuesday?
Yep.
Like, and it's not to try and guilt that person in, but like I always describe CrossFit and I got a master's in biomedical sciences, played college athletics. I own gyms. Like that's my job. There are still days that I don't want to work out.
Yep.
But the reason why I do is because I like going to class because I like seeing the Rickelmans or I like seeing Tyler or I like seeing whatever. And I go to hang out with my friends and what my friends and I do is we work out.
Yep.
And then when it's someone saying, hey, where were you on Tuesday? That's not saying like, you lazy piece of shit.
Right.
You weren't here. It was like, hey, I missed you. I want to see you. I didn't get
And
to see
that's not a
you.
lot of communication in the military that happens. Like, oh, I can't wait to see you at PT formation tomorrow at 6:30. Like, no, like there's dirty things said like that will not be repeated, but it's like, it's love.
Right.
Like it's out of, I have your back, you have mine. We're doing this together all the time. You see the same people, you do the same things, and then you go to war and it's up and down, but you're with the same people all the time. Some of those people get taken away, and yeah, it's rough and that is hard. But the people that they have your back, and then when they're taken from you, like, where do I go? And if you put somebody inside of a CrossFit facility, you're going to see the same people. You're going to see the same coaches. You're going to be on a routine. The workouts are different, so you have to learn to adapt in whatever it is. Like, okay, you're a big fella. You need to adapt to some cardio. Today we're going to run. You can't run anymore. Today you're going to. So I adapt, and I'm like, okay, yeah, physically I hurt, but I'm like, this is great. And the people are fun. Like, I have goals I can set, but like, it all starts to just kind of flow. And for most people, it just clicks. Like, this is where I want to be. I'm back on the team. And I think that portion is why it works so well in CrossFit, and so why I've focused almost all of it on putting folks back in CrossFit gyms, because it's back on the team, consistent people, consistent faces, consistent positivity. And then they leave there and it's like, okay, now I'm clear-headed and I can make better choices. What choices do I want to make? And that's, we follow up with, here are your choices. You know, what do you want to do? I don't know. Cool. Go talk to your therapist about it. Go talk to your spouse. Go talk to your dad, whoever it may be. And it's like, well, I don't have anybody. Then go talk to the Rickelmans. You know, go talk to Kayleen at Merle Hay, wherever the facility is. Like, go talk to your people, because they're good people and they want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And it's getting that conversation going. Noah is working with a veteran at CrossFit Merle Hay who burnt every bridge, but with me and his therapist. And he wrote me this nice long text messages. Thank you, da-da-da-da-da. And I walked in and see him, and Noah was like, he did it, didn't he? And I was like, I'm just laughing on the way in there. He was like, good for him. We have goals. And speaking with people and how, like, thanking people for their effort and opening up to people and showing emotion again. I'm like, okay. You know, like, I'm crying right there at the front desk. I'm like, okay, like, this is great. But that's what you hope in people. And every group of people is different. And that's why it's so neat. Like, every facility is somewhat the same, but very different.
Yeah. So now, ValorFit is a thing that, like, it's meant for serving veterans. One of the big fundraising events that is going on in, like I said, a week or two.
Yep.
And it's on Memorial Day, and it's Murph. Like, from a veteran's perspective, what does Murph the day, not even the event, what does Murph the day mean to you?
So Memorial Day is, before I did CrossFit, it was the hardest day of the year. Other than like April 4th, June 27th, I can name a few days, but like Memorial Day is rough. Like, I'm alive, I'm happy. At the time I was drinking beer with my friends, and all these people are dead. All these people gave their lives, and it was like, I felt guilty over it. It was always hiding by myself, or I'd get so drunk at a party, we'd have to leave early. And it was like, it was just a bad, like a dark cloud over it. And then now, to me, it is, I cry. I'll go out to the cemetery, the night before and say hi to my friends and do what I can to honor them. So like Memorial Day, Murph, and Monday is a positive thing because it's like honoring, like truly to me, it's a commitment to honor the fallen. And that's why like I do Murph. That's why Murph is so important to so many, every CrossFit gym in the country. It's important too. But as a veteran, it was always like a dark cloud hung over it. Like, yeah, I'm happy to be here, and instead I'm just torn apart.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say it's gotten like better or easier. I've just gotten used to that highs and lows of that day. Like the whole weekend fucks me up.
Yeah. Well, and this is from the outsider's perspective. This is one thing, like when we're looking at the list, which the two most emotional places that I've ever been were the Vietnam Memorial and the memorial at the side of the Twin Towers. Yeah. And when you see those names and you go, could have been me.
Yep.
The Vietnam Memorial is not, it's military service members, but you look at that and you're like, that could have been me. And when you do Murph, pardon the French, Murph fucking sucks.
It's there, yeah.
But it's supposed to. And
should.
That every time before we do a heat of Murph, whether it's at the gym, whether we're down helping with ValorFit or whatever, so Murph is run a mile. We got 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats, run another mile. And if you want to do it harder, put a 20-pound vest or a 20 or 14-pound vest on. And it's going to take you damn near an hour, maybe even longer. And
longer.
Yeah. And when you're running that second mile, or when you're in squat number 150 39 and you want to be done, you're not fucking dead.
And it's hard to flip that switch.
Yeah.
Even like now for me, like I'll be doing, like I've just gotten handstand push-ups back.
Hey, congratulations.
And it's like, oh, I'm going to die. Whoa, no. You're fucking doing handstand push-ups.
Yeah.
And that is like the way you put that for Murph. It's like, you're not dying.
You're not dying. You're not dead.
And like, I get that, like, that was the hardest workout. Because I still, even in my head, do it. I try not to do it out like in public, but I do it. But it's like that first run, I'm full sending it.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to make myself on the way to that first mile, that the pull-ups are going to be very rough for me. And I do that on purpose. And to get to that point, I know eventually when I'm done and later in the day when I'm with Tiff and the boys in the pool, I'll be grateful to be alive. But at that moment, like, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
There's no happiness to be in doing that workout. It's just like a emoji that's just like, you know, like,
deadpan.
Yeah. And it's like, I have no emotion right there.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I'm there, I'm alive, let's do this.
And for me, that's saying the things could be substantially worse than where you are now.
Right.
And as physically uncomfortable as you are, you look at that guy who had an IED go off. And that's why, like, doing Murph with veterans is completely different.
Changes the way you look at Murph, I think.
And there's that guy who has a bullet in his head. You have that guy who's lost his leg. You have that guy who's got a metal shoulder because shrapnel hit him.
Yep.
And you think, their day, they're here. They have friends that didn't make it here. I think I'm probably going to be okay.
And that's the one. So in veterans, like, they don't want to be looked at it, but that's in their head too. Like, that's, so you compare it to, Jesse, he's a Purple Heart recipient, has physical issues that will live with him the rest of his life. And you're like, man, that's a badass dude. In his head, he's thinking about all the friends that he served with that aren't there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of like all accumulates and comes together. And I think that's the community aspect. And that's the important part that if you're at a CrossFit facility and community, you should do it. And like, you're not dying.
Yeah.
You should be happy. Like, to say I'm happy to be there, the whole event in itself, like, gets me, the anxiety. But like, when it's all said and done, it's like, I'm really grateful to be here with my wife and kids. I'm really grateful to be surrounded by all these people because the workout's not going to kill me.
Yeah.
But ever.
So how can we help then? How can we, as listeners, viewers, how can we help with ValorFit and or with veterans generally?
So ValorFit.org, our website is really great. We have apparel for sale. And the proceeds from that go directly towards the program and the veterans. Wad Threads does a great job.
Shout out Derek Fiskus, great guy.
Golly, what a man. And so that
hell of a golfer too, by the way.
Yeah, I went golfing with him and I drove the cart the last, like, he did 9, then went backwards the other way. Like, I did the 9 and I drove the cart. Anyways, so we have apparel on the website. Veterans, if you know a veteran, you can reach out to me, Troy at ValorFit.org. If you are a veteran, ValorFit.org, and there's a veterans tab. You click on it, you apply. We also, this year, I'll send you the link. We are sponsored and partnered with the 2023 Proven CrossFit team. So Taylor Williamson, Andrea Nissler, Tim Paulson, and Tola. I chop his name up every single time. The strongest guy in CrossFit.
Oh, I can snatch 370 pounds.
Yeah, and they're all really great people. So we've partnered with them to grow our program throughout the country. But we have a Concept 2 rower donated by Greg Hammond that Tia and Shane and the team all signed it. We have that up for raffle. Wad Threads donated a male and female custom barbells. And there's a Built for Athletes backpack that Proven's going to donate. So everything is there on the website. The links are there. I'll provide the links, for you guys.
And they'll go out in the show
socials.
notes and stuff.
Yeah. And it's raffling to help us grow. That team is helping us grow. Like, I thought, how can we effectively get to the top? Well, Nick, who's been a close friend of mine and has always checked up on me, and it's like, hey, you just happen to be married to one of the fittest human beings to ever walk this earth, and her dad is a veteran. And
this is
Taylor Williamson. So
yeah.
Taylor's dad's a veteran and one of the nicest person off the CrossFit competition floor that you could ever meet. And my kids think that, like, they have no idea who she is. They just know her. She's Taylor, and she's funny, and she's nice, and she drove them around. And it was like, hey, we need to grow. Like this service needs to be out there. And Nick said, yeah, let's do this. And so they are helping us not just implement it, but identify the CrossFit facilities that we need to go to in each state. And Nick and Tia and that team are phenomenal human beings. Andrea owns a gym in Minnesota that we've been partnered with since the start. She's always like, how can I help? What can I do more? Can I walk into the VA and ask them if they want to do CrossFit? It's like, okay, yeah, sure, Andrea. Like, if that's your thing. Like, but they want to help more. And it's not just like competition is good for them. We have fundraising set up through them, and they're doing a really good job at it. So,
well, cool.
Yeah. So we'll send all the links out. We have raffles. We have apparel on the websites, and it's the most important thing for me because it's where my passion is, and the truth is getting veterans into this program. That other stuff works. You get with the right people, it continues to spread, and the word grows. But it's getting veterans into this program and saying, yeah, I need some help.
Yeah.
And once they do that, it's phenomenal.
Cool. I mean, I don't know how much else we need to add as far as just actually like when you have the chance to do good, just do it.
Don't be a dick. Like that was always my thing. Like I always used to like just kind of laugh like at your mannerisms. Like he's really good at this, but he's a dork. Like in a great way. Like
thank you.
You're just a nerd. And like all the people that I've met, like through you and Reggie, and it's grown, and met Amy and the Rylands and Mason and Neely and all these people, you know, and Colin at OC3, it was like, oh, Colin's not going to like you. No, Colin really does like me, and he really likes to help veterans. And it's like Casper Bauer at Kinesis and CrossFit Lincoln and some gyms down in Texas. And it's like, there's good people everywhere. It's just getting the word out to them and getting it. I mean, we're talking, I've been out of the military for 18 years. You know, I just turned 40. Like, I'm middle of the road since people have gotten, you know, like right in the middle. I mean, there's 50 and 60-year-old Iraq veterans. And, you know, and then it's phenomenal to keep it going, to watch it grow. And it's like, there's good people everywhere. Like, don't be a dick. Like I remember like in the Army, they called it fat bodies. Like, that's joking. Like, cool. But like, you look at people who are on like certain medications, they can't help that. Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Like if you're not going to help somebody, don't put them down.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to help people. You see it.
Yeah.
Amy Boyd sees it. Like it is hard to help people. So don't be an asshole. Just let those people be alone.
Yeah.
Like if you can call it turning your back on them, whatever it is, just don't put them down. Don't get in their way. Just let it be.
Yeah.
Other people will come in and help those people, and either that person will get help or they won't. But don't get mad at them for not getting help.
Yeah.
Like it's frustrating. It is hard. And I've cussed at a lot of people. Like fucking do better. But then it's like, I want you to do better because I know what it feels like.
Yeah.
Like I know what it feels like to like hurt. So yeah, don't be a dick.
I think that's the best
I'm going
way.
to see how many times I can say it in a row.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for coming in, Troy.
Yeah, thanks for having
Appreciate
me.
it.
Yeah. We're shaking hands though. That's weird.
That's it. We got cameras here.
I know. Wait till they turn off.
All right. Thanks, sir. Thanks, everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Fitter Every Day. For more information on our programs, locations, or any of the content that we have to offer, go to www.goldfinchathletics.com. And if you want us delivered directly to your mailbox, go to the newsletter tab while you're at the website. For any information or links mentioned in this episode, check the show notes. We'll check you next episode.